I'm Marketing Sherpa reporter Allison Banco joining you from Email Summit 2014. In our Media Center, we polled some of our guests asking them, what do you think the relationship between social media and email will be in 2014?
I think it was tough. I've always been kind of a pessimist about integration with social because it's always been a one-way street. You kind of say, hey, we have Twitter over here, and Twitter never really sends anything back. But we've been testing out some new ways of doing it. We're getting pretty pumped about how we can make it a two-way street. So pulling in live content feeds from Twitter and saying, here's all the tweets from @Dell. Here's all the Facebook posts from @Dell. And that way it does become an interactive campaign, and we can say, here's what's happening on Twitter, and when you get over to Twitter, the social team are going to help us push them back into email and engage with our program as well. So I'd say for the first time, since this whole conversation of integrating social and email together, I'm getting to become optimistic about what the capabilities are going to be.
In some ways, it's still sort of siloed. We're not quite there yet. I think that there are definitely companies that are using it to their advantage, but it isn't something that right now we haven't bridged the gap. And the fact is, email is, I think it's not going to go away. It's not dead. It's not, I don't think, ever going to be dead. But we haven't gotten to the point of where we have the adoption rates in social media, both on the consumer and the user side, and then also the marketing organizations or the companies that are using that to promote.
Well, the gist of what I want to talk about and what we actually did at Copyblogger that resulted in a 400% opt-in increase was create more of an app-like, social media-like experience. Instead of opt-in, it's registration. Instead of email newsletter, it's, look, when you go to Facebook, if you want the good stuff, if you want to do what Facebook does, then you provide an email address and you register. So we shifted to that concept for our site and shifted to a content library concept where, to get the good stuff, you log in, you're registered, and I think it's indicative of email's power that all the social media channels have started emailing you all the time.
One of the most common ways you see people trying to integrate social and email is just to put social media links or like icons in their email. And so, especially with the introduction of mobile, you have limited screen real estate. So I say choose the most effective channel, especially for the content that's in the email, and really add value around those links or those icons to say, like, why are they in there? What happens when I click here? Do you want me to share this on Twitter? Do you want me to follow you on Twitter? Do you want me to read more of your content on Twitter? So if you're just an icon, I don't really know what you want me to do. So I think social definitely has a place in email. It's just how you approach it and how well you know your audience and how well that kind of stuff is performing there. And then again, how are you adding value to that process?
It's another data point. You can learn a lot about your customers and prospects based on what they're sharing on social media. So for example, if somebody is looking for, says tweets interested in or trying to find a market automation solution, that tweet, if you have their email address, might trigger an email to them. Right, so you're using that data on social media to change the conversation through email.
The email that you get versus the email that I get might have a dynamic content block that, at one level is default, but then it might have a different offer, a different kind of content around a product based on the fact that the brand knows that I have an affinity towards that based on things I've done on social media, right? So I think, it's still early. A lot of people are working on some interesting things, but I think that's kind of where we're going to get to in the next couple of years.
Do you want to get the scoop on the latest trends in email marketing? Join us at Marketing Sherpa Email Summit 2015.